You're listening to the LoFi Music Academy podcast, your go-to space for all things lo-fi. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of lo-fi music production.
Hi, and welcome to the LoFi Music Academy podcast. I'm Spencer J, your guide through the chilled-out, atmospheric world of lo-fi beats. Today's episode is all about something crucial to crafting the perfect lo-fi sound, EQ and filters. Now, I know EQ and filters might sound technical, especially if you're just starting out, but trust me, if you want to improve your skills, these are essential tools for every lo-fi producer. So let's break them down in a simple way that's actionable and perfect for your lo-fi tracks. So grab your notebook, settle in, and let's jump into understanding EQ and filters for lo-fi music production. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is EQ? EQ, or equalization, is simply the process of adjusting the balance of different frequencies in a sound. Think of it as shaping the tone of your track. Every sound is made up of frequencies from the deep bass to the high shimmering treble. With EQ, you're either boosting or cutting certain frequencies to make a sound stand out or sit back in the mix. In lo-fi music, EQ is especially important because you want to create that vintage, warm vibe. You're not looking for crystal clear, polished sounds like you might in pop or EDM. Instead, you want to sculpt your sounds to feel a little dusty or nostalgic. And lo-fi, hence the name. Before we dive into using EQ, you need to understand the frequency spectrum. Think of it as the range of sound from low to high frequencies. And here's a quick breakdown. Sub-bass, 20 Hz to 60 Hz. These are the super low frequencies that you feel more than you hear, like the deep thud of a kick drum. Bass, 60 Hz to 250 Hz. This is where your bass guitar or 808s live, providing the body of your track. Your low mids, 250 Hz to 500 Hz. These frequencies give warmth and thickness to the sounds, like the low end of a piano or some pads. Mid-range, 500 Hz to 2 kHz. This is where most of the character of your sound lives, like vocals, guitars or synths. High mids, 2 kHz to 6 kHz. These frequencies add clarity and presence to your track, but too much can make things sound harsh. Treble or top end, 6 kHz to 20 kHz. This is where you'll find the brightness and air of your track. Think hi-hats, shakers, and other high-pitched sounds. Now let's talk about how to actually use EQ in your lo-fi productions. Remember, lo-fi music is all about creating warmth and atmosphere, so you'll often be cutting more than boosting frequencies to give it that mellow vibe. Here are some key EQ tips for lo-fi. Firstly, roll off high frequencies. Lo-fi tracks often sound vintage because they lack the bright, sparkly highs of modern music. By using a high shelf EQ or low-pass filter, you can roll off the high end above 8 kHz to remove that extra brightness. This makes your track feel more relaxed and nostalgic. Next, control the bass. While deep bass is important in lo-fi, you don't want to overpower the mix. Use a low-cut filter to remove any unnecessary sub-bass, especially below 30 Hz. This will help keep your mix clean while still retaining that warm, deep sound. Next, sculpt the mid-range. The mid-range is where your lo-fi track will come to life. You want to make sure your piano, guitar, or synth leads sit well in this range. If things sound too muddy, try cutting around 300 Hz to 500 Hz. If you need more presence, gently boost around 1 kHz to 2 kHz. Lastly, carve space for elements. When mixing multiple elements like drums, bass and melodies, you want to avoid frequency clashes. For example, cut a bit of the low mids from your melody to give room for the bass or kick drum to shine. Now let's talk about filters, specifically high-pass and low-pass filters. These are your best friends in lo-fi production. The low-pass filter allows the low frequencies to pass through while cutting the highs. It's perfect for giving instruments that muffled lo-fi feel. For example, adding a low-pass filter on your drums can make them sound more distant and cosy, like they're playing on an old record player. The high-pass filter does the opposite. It lets the high frequencies through while cutting the lows. This is great for cleaning up instruments that don't need much bass, like hi-hats or vocals. Use it to remove low-end rumble or noise that can muddy up your mix. Let's get practical with some filtering techniques for lo-fi vibes. Firstly, vinyl style filtering. You've probably heard that vinyl crackle and muffled sound in a lot of lo-fi tracks. You can recreate this by applying a low-pass filter to instruments like your melody or chords, rolling off the high end to give that vintage warmth. Add a touch of vinyl crackle for authenticity. Next, lo-fi drums with high-pass filtering. Apply a high-pass filter on your drum bus to reduce the lows, giving the drums a soft, distant feel. This works well for background ambience or sections where you want the focus to be on the melody. Another technique is automating filters. A great way to keep your lo-fi track dynamic is by automating the filters. For instance, you can slowly open a low-pass filter during a build-up or close it down during a breakdown to create movement and tension. Before we wrap up, let's go over a few common mistakes producers make with EQ and filters. Mainly overboosting frequencies. A lot of beginners tend to boost frequencies too much. Remember, less is more in lo-fi music. Subtle changes often have a bigger impact than drastic boosts. Another mistake is not using enough filters. Filters are powerful tools to help you shape your sound. Don't shy away from using high-pass filters to clean up your mix, or low-pass filters to create warmth and space. So that's a wrap on EQ and filters for lo-fi music production. To recap, EQ is essential for sculpting your sound, while filters are perfect for giving your track that warm vintage feel. Whether you're shaping your low end, carving out space in the mid-range, or rolling off highs for a nostalgic vibe, EQ and filters will help you create a polished lo-fi track that really stands out. Make sure to experiment with these tools in your next production session, and remember, in lo-fi, imperfections are what make the track feel human and authentic. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with fellow music producers who might find it useful. Until next time, keep creating, stay inspired, and remember, it's all about the vibe. Take care and see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the LoFi Music Academy podcast. If you're ready to start making lo-fi music and want to go even deeper, grab your free guide. Discover the 6 essential steps to create a release-ready lo-fi track from scratch. Whether you're using budget gear in your bedroom or a small home studio, this guide will help you get that polished, dreamy lo-fi sound you're after. Just go to www.lofimusicacademy.com. Until next time, keep creating those laid-back vibes, and don't forget to subscribe for more lo-fi tips and tricks.